Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and creator of the Salesology prospecting method. And I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Today, my very special guest is Erick Haas. And Erick is the ag sales manager at LandPro Equipment. He is an experienced ag sales manager, and he oversees 17 ag salesmen while bringing 15 years of expertise in the John Deere dealer network. And Erick's area of responsibility is primarily Western New York, Pennsylvania, and a portion of Ohio. His background includes precision agriculture, training, recruitment, and a John Deere certified trainer. Erick is deeply committed to his central New York community. He serves as the president of Cornell Cooperative Extension of Madison County. He's on several program advisory boards. He is a 4-H leader. He is president of the Chittenango Fire Department. And he resides on a 65-acre hobby farm in central New York with his wife and 2 young girls. So welcome, Erick.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I am so happy you are here. And I have to start by asking you, what's a hobby farm? I'm a New Yorker. I'm in New York City. What's a hobby farm?
A hobby farm here is making and ensuring that your wife is happy and the girls are happy with all the animals they could possibly want, which includes 3 horses, a donkey, and probably around 70 head of poultry of some sort.
Okay. So how did you end up on a hobby farm, and how did you end up? What is the backstory here? How did you end up as a ag sales manager at LandPro Equipment?
Yeah, so I met my wife, back in the mid 2015 thereabouts, and her grandmother had a 65-acre property that my wife grew up on, and she was ready to downsize, and we were ready to upgrade. So we jumped on the opportunity, and we've got a nice mix of hay ground. We do maple syrup. We have a lot of hardwoods, a pond, and both my wife and I have a big love for agriculture and for animals. And 1 horse became 2, and 2 became 3, and 1 chicken became 50. And I've learned in my years now to just agree, go along with it, and that keeps all 3 young women in my family happy. So.
Okay. And do your children ride the horses?
Yes. Eliana is 6 and my youngest Emma Lynn is 3, and they are out there every day feeding treats, and we're doing pony rides and utilizing the trails that we have on the property, and they're definitely growing into it.
Okay, well, that sounds really idyllic. Even for me as a city girl, sounds very, very nice.
We're very fortunate, yes.
Yeah. So switching gears here, tell us the backstory, how you ended up at LandPro Equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2011, I started my job with the John Deere dealership before LandPro here, called Casanova Equipment Company, and I was their precision agriculture specialist. So we're talking about taking large agricultural machinery and having them operate autonomously using technology, GPS. And I was out there working with the salesmen, working with the customers, educating, training, and really supporting the customer through those roles. And as my career developed, I was then added some more responsibilities, including becoming our training manager. So I was, working with all 200 employees that we had, creating career development plans for them, became a certified John Deere instructor. So I could go out around the country and take John Deere classes and then be able to come back and re-deliver them to our employees. So that gave me a whole lot more level of knowledge when it comes to the equipment and how it works, and just added to that library of information that I had with me. And had a great 11 years with Casanova Equipment Company, and just felt it was time to change something up there. And then this opportunity with LandPro kind of fell into my lap, and I did not have specific sales management experience, but I had the background knowledge, I had the equipment knowledge, and I had, I did have a short stint in there as a territory manager for a year. So I was able to work with 20 different dealerships across the Northeast. So that definitely gave me that management and effort. And a lot of it kind of came down to just the community and the ag community knowing who I was, what I've been doing, and that kind of put the reputation in front of me a little bit. So I wasn't just some, redheaded guy coming out of Central New York just applying for a random job, but most everybody in the state at least knew who I was.
Okay, and he is redheaded. Um, so, as you were starting out in your career, were you saying to yourself, I want to do something in agriculture? Or were you saying to yourself, I want to do something in sales? Or maybe just I need a job?
When I left college, I was expecting to work for the Department of Environmental Conservation, where my degree sits, not agriculture. I thought I was going to be out there in the wilderness, working with trees, working with wildlife. And out of college, I did spend 3 years with soil and water conservation, working with farms and preventing pollution. And that was kind of the step into the agricultural field. Of course, I'd worked back in high school and college on a farm and driving tractors and milking cows, but that was kind of the segue to get into the specific role itself and add the agronomic background, the cropping, the equipment, the management, that all kind of comes together and what's helping me become, successful in this role.
Okay. So, what do you like about sales and sales management?
I really enjoy the human connection, the conversations. Every day is something different. I don't come in on my computer, I don't go out on the road without having some new type of challenge. Having any kind of a role or a career with just a monotonous in and out 8 to 5 was never going to work for me. I can't be stuck at a desk every day. I have to be out and working with customers like it was yesterday. I mean, yesterday I was out with a large customer and we had nearly $1 million machine. We're out there demonstrating. Today I'm here getting caught up on the computer work that I missed out on. So it's again that different tasks, different things every day is really helpful. And with the management thing, I really get a lot of joy when it comes to helping my sales pros, helping develop them, giving them the resources, and at the end of the day, seeing them take those resources and become more independent and be able to go there and be more confident in their job. I think if you get a salesperson who's not confident in a portion of their job, maybe it's technology, they're probably not going to go out there and push technology because they're not comfortable speaking on it. So if I can just get all the resources, put it in front of them, work with them hand in hand, that's a big win for me when I can actually see them hit the ground and start to handle these things on their own.
Okay. So, how many salespeople are you managing right now? How many are on your team?
Right now, I have 17 ag sales professionals out on the field. They're making on the farm calls every day.
Okay. And it was interesting to me. We met on LinkedIn, and I asked you at that time what was a win for you and your team. And your answer was becoming a trusted resource for our top salesmen, who can be difficult due to the nature of who they are.
Yeah.
When they're calling me with updates, questions, wins, and engaging in my best practices, it shows me I'm creating inroads over my 18 months with this dealership because you've only been there 18 months. I thought that was such an interesting answer because as salespeople, we often talk about becoming a trusted resource for the customer, but I've never heard a manager talk about being a trusted resource for the salespeople. And so could you talk a little bit more about that and how you did how you were able to do that?
Yeah, so it's nothing really makes me happier when a sales professional calls me with a question that's not in my wheelhouse. And I often have to say, you need to call this person or that person. And having them want to reach out to me shows me that the method I give them information, the manner of which works for them. And when we talked about a lot of the seasoned salesmen, like in any industry, really, I think, and with the other dealership I was with, your top 10% of salesmen like to do things their way. They generally have a lot of knowledge, and it's a little bit harder for them to kind of fall in within the sideboards that we lay out for them. So once I can prove to them, or once I did prove to them that I'm here to support you, I am here to work with you in your management style and how you do things, that's when you start to see that I don't have to just call them every day to get updates on just what they've got going on. They're reaching out to me saying, hey, here's what I've got cooking today. Here's what's on the horizon. Here's some things I might need. And when we can start communicating more like that, we're able to hit obstacles and then be able to just jump over them and keep on going because we're keeping that communication going. We're working together. We're trying to mainstream what we have happening. And that just makes my job easier. It makes their job easier and makes upper leadership know that we've got a good grasp on what's happening in our territory.
Okay. So I want to get really granular here because you've been there, you've been at LandPro 18 months, and you have people that have been there much longer than 18 months. That's what I hear you saying.
Yeah.
So you come in and you've got the who the hell are you factor going on.
Mhm.
You're new, they've been there forever. And you're saying, okay, this is the plan. This is what we're doing. And you have to get them on board with it. Can you give me some examples of how you did that? How did you get that communication going? Because that's a really hard thing, and I think that's a really hard thing for anyone coming into a new situation where they have to manage salespeople that have been there longer than you have.
The one big obstacle when I came on board is they have already gone through a couple, three ag sales managers that were not there very long. There was a lot of turnover in this role. I had to get past that and let them know that I'm not leaving next month. And for them to get more buy-in and to understand things, I felt the key to that was transparency. So often you'll see that goals are set, requirements are laid out, best practices are laid out from behind a curtain. And it was never really explained to the salesman why. So in the John Deere world, our report card is through market share. What percent of the machines that were sold out there in your area were John Deere? And that's the thing that every dealership pushes is the market share, the market share. We need great market share, but no one told them why. So when I'm able to open the curtain a little bit and let them see, hey guys, this is how this works. This is how the inside of this thing works. A light bulb goes off. Even on the more seasoned guys, he's like, you know what? In the years I've been doing this, I never knew that was why. So being able to have the transparency, try to be as much of an open book as I can. We can't show everything, but that definitely it not only gives them a goal and a direction, but it helps show them how they're going to get there as well.
I love that because, I talk to a lot of salespeople, and lots of times they will complain, oh, management wants me to do this stupid thing, and management wants me to do this other stupid thing, and I'm spending all my time doing these things. I'm not selling. And when you know what the reason is, maybe it's not such a stupid thing you're doing. Maybe there's a really good reason you should be doing it. And so I love that you did that.
It's the same thing with our CRM. The one thing that we try to get our salesmen to do is just log calls. Just when you make a visit, you pull your phone out, it takes 14 seconds. Who'd you chat with? What'd you chat about? And it's hard for the guys that it's easier for the newer salesmen because they don't have the bad habits already built into them. Getting the seasoned guys to start doing that has been very difficult. But when I say, it's not just big brothering you, it's to make sure that you talk to a customer. This example came up. You talk to a customer, this was the conversation. The customer came back, says, no, this is not what we talked about. Well, now you have it documented what the conversation was about. So it also protects you and gives leadership an idea of what's happening out there. Do we have enough resources for you? Do we need to focus on certain things? It's not to make sure you're out calling on people because we know you are. We see the numbers, we just see the sales. As a salesman, the more you sell, the more you make. So we know you're trying out there.
Right. Well, also with CRM, if you don't document, you really risk, speaking as somebody that has done this, you really risk losing out on opportunities because you don't have the history. And I have done that. I made a very big mistake like that once, and I never made that mistake again. But it was a big opportunity that I just didn't document the conversation, and then I screwed up the next conversation. So
Yeah,
it's vitally important for them too.
yeah. I mean, the farm we were at yesterday, the salesman's a newer salesman, and he set up this demonstration where he brought John Deere representatives, LandPro representatives are out there. The machine's doing what it's supposed to do. And prior to this salesman, he says, no one's been here and called on me in 10 years. And if you look at the CRM, and if that stuff's not being documented, we don't know that this customer has been getting overlooked year after year after year. And that just helps us make sure that we're not missing anybody. Because that's the big thing I'm pushing when it comes to quoting for customers. Just be participate in the deal. Be there. They don't have to buy Deere, but just give us a call, and that's really going to help us do that more efficiently.
Yeah. So is everyone on your team using the CRM the way you want them to use it?
No. And I don't think I'll ever be able to say 100% everybody is. And there's the gray area. So when you have a high producing, high selling, the salesmen that are really knocking out of the park, I am okay with giving a little bit of leniency on the amount of call logs or how they're using the CRM because I know that salesman is taking care of their customers. They know what's happening. They've got a pulse on their community. For the newer salesman, the maybe an underperforming salesman, I'm probably going to press it a bit harder for them to just make sure that they're crossing T's, dotting I's, and using the programs we have set to help them. So it does unfortunately have to go a little bit case by case. It's not ideal, but again, you have to find the happy balance. And if you do that, again, you're also going to get more of the buy-in where you're not constantly pounding the same message. And for somebody who's been doing it for 20 years out selling, it's hard to establish new work habits that you might not personally utilize. So it's not everybody.
Okay, that's very transparent. So, one of the questions that I asked you in preparation for this interview, I said, Eric, what drives you crazy about managing a sales team? And your answer was, that's not my job. I've never done it that way. It can be difficult to mainstream a department, which allows all branches to work seamlessly together. So, how do you get the people that are saying, it's not my job? I've never done it this way. I've always done this other thing. How do you get
It's
them on board?
Yeah, that's a real tough one sometimes. So in the ag industry, as a dealership, the sales department has to work closely with service and work closely with parts and the precision agriculture. We have to mainstream. So generally, when you get poor communication, you get these silos built up around every one of these departments, and everyone wants to point the finger if something happens. This wasn't set up right. Well, the salesman never told me he had to do it, or the service guy didn't read all the instructions. So, my biggest thing that I'm pushing for everybody is to over communicate to a point of annoyance. All right. And I say, you can't, when it's springtime and it's go time for farmers, And we're all busy. You can't rely on simple email to be able to communicate. So you have to go the extra step to email, to call, to text multiple times and get multiple people involved to ensure that the ball doesn't get dropped, because the person that's going to get affected in the end is going to be the producer. It's going to be our customer. And one bad event in that customer's eyes could last for quite a few years. They're going to remember that one time that, something happened with LandPro, and man, oh man, I'm never going to go back there again. But they're going to overlook the other 50 times that we were there to support them. So I think some salesmen are getting better with that. It's just, again, constantly riding along with them, watching their habits, interjecting a little bit of tips and some best practices to help make sure that they are on board with what we're trying to do. And it's also working closely with their store manager, having communications with them. Hey, how's the salesman doing? Where do we got to focus on? What are you seeing on your end? Because where I'm at, I could be 6 hours away from the office of one of my salesmen, but that store manager sees them every day. So he sees a lot more of the day-to-day activities and where there might be weaknesses that I can't see from my seat over here.
So I'm curious, because in this communication loop, you can really sit on your salespeople and keep reiterating communicate, 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 but they are communicating with other departments that don't always communicate. So how do you get the other departments to be part of this communication loop? So your salespeople are communicating what needs to be done, but they get a response back. Yeah, I'm on it, or I'm doing it tomorrow, or whatever the response is.
It's that scary four-letter word called accountability. So you have to make sure that we are holding our parts, service, sales. Everybody's got to be held accountable, and you have to get the buy-in from upper management, the store managers, operation managers, department managers. They've all got to be looped in on what's going, and that's why, recently I'm blocking out a section of my day, which is generally today, to reach out to all my store managers, touch base, how's things going, just so that they feel that they're in the loop. They know what's going on from the sales side. I know what's going on with the service and the parts departments out there. And again, the more transparency, the more visibility we have going on. Or if we've got four different people having an issue, all right, 2 o'clock, I'll see everybody on this call. Let's talk it over. Let's figure this out, get a solution, and move on. Because we've all got too much problems, too much stuff going on right now to have to spend a whole lot of time dragging this issue out for weeks. Let's just nip it in the bud now, move on, and continue with our day.
Okay. I love this. Because I am guilty of this as well. I think a lot of managers just wanted to go do it, just go do it. And this accountability piece, where on a certain level you're forcing the communication, but it's so vitally important. Um, that's what's making it work.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I also want to ask you, because another question I asked you in preparation for this interview was wins that you and your sales team have had in the past year. And you said you like to focus on foundational wins that allow the team to succeed. So what do you mean by that, foundational wins?
Well, I guess when I'm talking about foundational wins, if you think of any pyramid, all right, so the top of pyramid is a sale, any kind of sales. It's just is making profit. You're not going to do that with good foundational components, good foundational best practices. So if I can come in and start working with a salesman who's trying to figure things out, they're still a little bit all over the place, not a whole lot of guidance, and to be able to set them up step by step. Okay, let's talk about how you can take care of customers. All right. Let's dive into difficult customers, new customers, customers that don't know who you are. Lay out those foundational bricks, and once they can get those best practices and put them into actual work habits, then you solidify what it's going to take for that salesman to be successful. And then you can then move on to the next one. And then now it's more of a monitoring thing. So instead of a hand holding, we've gone to training wheels. And then we go from training wheels to you're on your own, riding a bike. Let me know if you fall down and you need a hand. I'll be right there to give you a hand. So that's a real big one right there for me when It really is about building up the salesman, making them confident. If they're weak in a certain portion, whether it be a piece of equipment, technology, a process or policy, focus on it, then they can continue on selling, which is our ultimate goal.
So I'm going to take a wild guess here, but I'm willing to bet you have written best practices.
Yes, most definitely. We have written best practices, laid them out for people simply because we found a gap and we plugged it, and now we can move forward. So it's a constant thing because they're always going to forget it as well. Oh, right, we did talk about it a few months ago. Yes, we did. So yeah.
Yeah, writing everything down, it actually makes a really big difference. So this has been such a great conversation, Erick. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
I would highly recommend them find me out there on LinkedIn. I try to stay active, connect with me. Let's have a conversation and bounce some ideas. And it's been a really great tool for networking and meeting people.
Absolutely. That's how we met.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so if you would like to connect with Erick, which I recommend that you do, his LinkedIn, the link to Erick's LinkedIn profile is in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link, connect with Erick. And you have been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, with my very special guest, Erick Haas, who is the Ag Sales Manager at LandPro Equipment. And if you have found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one business owner, one sales leader, one entrepreneur, somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to today's podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.